It's spooky season, but you know what's not scary? That's a great Android podcast player, and that is the Podcast Republic app, available on the Google Play Store. Thousands of good reviews, folks. Thousands of good reviews on that store. You download the app, you favorite your shows, they download right to your device. It's that easy. It's straightforward. You've heard me talk about it. Go see it for yourself. The Podcast Republic app on the Google Play Store. Welcome to Dissecting the 80s. I am Trip Lano, one half of the Mega Podcasting Power. And with me, as always, continuing the Spooktacular 2019, is a man who, well, let's face it, doesn't spend that much time around weight machines. The Macho Man Drew.
Andrew Lano. And no, fun fact. So here's a fun fact. I might out myself if anyone official is listening to this. So I got a Planet Fitness membership like 3 years ago, and I had like a nice job. So I was like, I'll spring for the nicer one so I can go to other Planet Fitnesses instead of just the one down the road from my house. And then I got that in like May, and then I used it sporadically. And then October came for Halloween. I was like going to the gym a lot so I could get in like Halloween shape. And there was one week where I went like 4 days in a row. And then went on a fifth day and like swiped my card, and the guy at the front desk was like, "Hey, can you scan again?" I said, "Sure," and I scanned again. He's like, "What's your phone number?" So I gave it to him, and he's like, "I'm not seeing you have an account in our system." And I was like, "I'm really not trying to be a jerk, but this is literally the fifth day I've been here this week to this specific Planet Fitness.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's wrong." And he was like, "It's not." He's like, "I'm not seeing that you have an account with us at all. Have you ever been charged?" And I was like, probably. I don't know. I came in, gave you the check because it's not credit card based. It's like debit. It's like bank based. And he was like, "Well, can you pull up your bank thing?" And I now I'm starting to sweat because I'm like, what if I'm flying under the radar? And I was like, No, I can't. I'll do that when I get home. And so he's like, "Okay, just go in." Because now there's a line behind me. He's like, "Just go in now." So I go to a machine, I start, and I like instantly pull up my bank account and see that I have never been charged by Planet Fitness. Ever.
But your thing worked.
My thing worked. I used the tanning bed a couple times. I've been to other Planet Fitnesses, and then I was like so paranoid to go back because I was like, this guy's gonna see me there, and like I'm gonna get retroactively charged for these like this like year of shit that I've never paid for.
Right.
So like then I went home and I went through on the computer. No bank statement, and then I tried to like register my account with Planet Fitness online to register for classes. Wouldn't let me do that because it said my number wasn't valid, and so I was like, I don't know what's happening, and I just never went back to Planet Fitness.
It's like they just corrected the error in the system. Like the computer was like, "Hey, this person's been coming in and they don't have an account. We'll just delete them."
Right?
Well, it's a good thing that Planet Fitness isn't as high tech as the spa in Death Spa, because if it were, you'd be killed for such a thing.
I would.
In honor of that fantastic segue, I'll tell you this. We watched Death Spa, so you know what that means.
We gotta go back. We gotta go dissect the 80s. It's your incomplete film. Please see me after class. Something's gotta be done about your incomplete film. Please see me after class.
When the Mega Powers explode.
It's time to ride out. Do not make any sudden moves.
Get away from him! Dad, where the hell is the
Wolfman's got narc!
We say it a lot that the movie doesn't explain that, or it would be nice if the movie told us. I think this is the most egregious, like flagrant disregard for the movie giving you information. It's literally an incomplete film.
Yeah, it does seem very much like it was shot to be one thing and they edited it into another thing.
Yes.
So the title for this movie in Europe is, and I swear I'm not making this up, Witch Bitch.
I like that.
Which is a significantly more accurate title for what this movie is. Because while it is about a spa full of death, it's a movie about witches.
So, is it? I didn't get witches.
She's a witch.
I thought she was a ghost.
No, I'm pretty sure she's a witch.
So on Wikipedia, it's like a 2-sentence description for the plot, and it just says the late wife has committed suicide and is possessing, gym equipment at a high-tech gym. So I went into this thinking, okay, it's a paranormal, hoop-de-doo review, whatever.
Spooky, yeah.
But like it's going to be like technology-based, which I was like super 80s, that like ghosts are going to invade your VCR and like strangle you with the VCR tape or VHS tape. That's not what happened. This movie is so confusing.
It is deeply confusing. The reason I go witches over ghosts is because I thought I got like a very supernatural, like the show Supernatural Witch vibe out of this. Like if they had found a hex bag, like there's totally could have been a scene where they found a hex bag in the gym.
I agree. Yes, now thinking about that, but I'm fairly certain she was a ghost of some kind.
Okay. Well, given that the alternate title is Witch Bitch, I think that I'm right. I'm just saying. Like, I don't know that the movie tells us that, but I think the movie wants that to, but it is.
This movie doesn't know what it wants. This movie is a 14-year-old child. It does not know what it wants. But we open on what I love is late 80s, early 90s neon signs that were like, the font was super cool looking. And it
was really cool.
It reminded me of Batman Returns when Selena Kyle has in her apartment this neon sign that says hello there. And when she becomes Catwoman, she breaks the O and the T and it becomes hell here because I don't remember what the hell the actual spa is called, but the neon lights break so that it just says death spa.
Yeah.
It was something health spa.
Yes. The director says ghost, by the way.
Okay.
So I guess we'll go with ghost. Although, again, it is called Witch Bitch. But yeah, this is one of those weird movies where I was stunned. You mentioned the Wikipedia. Like, I was stunned at how little information was on it, because this seems like the kind of movie that would have like this exhaustive plot synopsis.
Agreed. But no.
And I was baffled. Yeah. So I guess this one's a little too unsung. And I also had the problem. I talked about this when I was telling folks what movie was next last episode, but there's another movie called Killer Workout.
Which probably would have been better.
It's not. So I watched this one.
You pulled a Muppet movie, Great Muppet Caper situation?
No. I watched this movie first, and then I was like, it's Halloween time. I'm doing my Halloween binge watch. And I was like, oh, let me throw on the other one because we haven't recorded it yet, and Andrew probably hasn't even watched it yet. So if this one's way better, we'll just switch it. And I fell asleep.
Okay, fair.
So I think they are probably on equal level in terms of like production and whatnot.
Gotcha. My Spooktober has been Serial Mom and Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which were two movies I'd never seen before, and I don't know how I hadn't seen them before.
Yeah, I'm surprised on the first one.
So
I will say, though, that the last half hour of this movie is awesome. So it takes a long time to get cool.
I would say last 15, 20, but yeah.
Yeah, all right, fine. But still, like, the last 15, 20 of this movie is better than some whole movies we've done. Like, several movies we've done.
My problem is that, like, that last 15 to 20 is so mired down in the fact that I don't understand the rules of what's happening.
Well, there are no rules.
Okay.
That's where you've gone astray.
Well, I'm not at an Outback. I'm watching a movie. Is that still their slogan?
I don't know. I say it a lot. Like whenever I do a weekend getaway with people and they're like, what are we going to do? And I'm like, I have one activity planned. The rest of the weekend is up to you. No rules, just right.
This gym looks like a pop-up art installation for Instagram use only.
It does really look like a thing that people would pay money for. Speaking of, this is a tangent already, but there's a thing here in DC that I was looking for a restaurant
Happy Place
for Groupon. No, there's a pop-up thing. I guess it's in Virginia. I think it's McLean, Virginia. But there's a pop-up thing, or I assume it's a pop-up thing called like the Selfie Museum or the Spooky Selfie Museum or something like that. I don't remember the real name, but I looked at the Groupon and it's like a big alligator you can stick your head in and take a picture with, like fake one, obviously. Yeah. A coffin that you can get in, like a torture rack. It's just like different things you can take pictures in front of or on or whatever. And it's even with a Groupon was like $15 or something. And I was just thinking like, man, this is a weird ass world we live in.
So there's one in, it is the whole like selfie situation, but it's also an art installation. And They have said since April that it's going to go on tour, and I've yet to hear a tour announcement, so I don't believe them. But it's called I Like Scary Movies. And they have, originally it was a Beetlejuice room, Nightmare on Elm Street, The Shining, The Lost Boys, and Friday the 13th, I think.
I think only 3/5 of those are scary movies.
Who would say that?
Beetlejuice?
It's playfully spooky.
I don't think I like scary movies. Look, I don't like gatekeepers. I try not to be one. But if someone was like, I love scary movies, I was like, me too. What's your favorite? And they said Beetlejuice. I'd be like, all right, I don't know what to do with that. Is what I'm gonna say. It's not like you're not a real fan, but I would call that a comedy.
I don't know. It's a dark comedy, spooky comedy. But it's like they have the pieces from the waiting room. So there's a couch with a shark attached. You can stick your leg in. You can be the upper half of the sawed in half lady. You can be like trapped under a giant Freddy glove. And it went away and then came back and they dropped the Lost Boys room and added a It room, I think. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, go on tour already.
Where is it?
L.A.
Oh, okay.
Because if it was New York, I would like probably just go the second time. But like, It's all the way in L.A.
Yeah, that's far. They could fly us out. We could go look at it if they want. If they want that, we'll do a special pod for that.
If anyone,
they have to pay for the flights though.
Connected is listening, please.
So we get much like we're killing time at the beginning of this episode. This movie spends a long time killing time to get started, and I didn't do a minute by minute count here, but you got a long credit sequence after this spooky failing neon sign thing, which I always love that. It's this long dance sequence, like a lot of leotards, a lot of
It's not even set to music. Like, it's not like in Footloose when he's dancing through the warehouse, or Flashdance when she like turns on her boombox and starts dancing in her living room. It's just like set to the spooky. It's not even set to it. It's just a woman dancing, and we hear a spooky score. Like, give me something.
It is a weird thing. I'm sure it's a licensing music issue.
Then just like there's no way royalty free didn't exist in 89.
Yeah, I'm sure you're right.
Give me literally anything, because I was just like, I'm watching this woman writhe around all sweaty to your film score.
Right. And then this guy Marvin comes in and he like makes her leave the dance studio. I guess
Ken Foree.
Like, yes, Ken Foree. And then we get full frontal nudity in less than 6 minutes.
5 minutes, 40 seconds. I clocked it.
I was flabbergasted.
Lecherous, exploitative nudity.
It's definitely the quickest nudity we've had on this show.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, you can't get much faster. Speaking of our side podcast, Dudity, I saw a GIF today on Twitter that someone was like, remember how we thought home video was amazing and then it just kept getting better? Well, this is what Terminator looks like. And it's Arnold like getting up from the crouch and walking.
Yeah.
And you can see his pee just like all over the place. And it was like, they lit it in such a way that for VHS, you couldn't see it. You probably couldn't even see it all that well. I guess you probably saw it well in the theater. But now that it's on Blu-ray, it's just like, oh, there it is.
I wonder if that was a body double.
Oh, no. It's
face? Okay.
Yeah. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger walking like semi towards the camera.
It's like the Buffy remaster that shows the crew and the lights.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that show is not ready for high definition. You should watch Buffy in 4:3 with
bit of a grain
filters on, some grain. Yes. I think part of that crew visible stuff is just a poorly done master, where it's like some of the shots for that show were composed for 4:3 television, which means like they knew where the frame was and then they just put crew on the edge of it. So if you just like open the frame to a widescreen, it's they're visible crew because you did a shitty job. So I have another issue with this scene, and that is that it takes place inside a sauna, which like as someone who sweats a lot, I don't really understand the appeal of the sauna. But whatever, if it's your thing, that's fine. But what I do think is very weird is this actress is just like rubbing her sweat around on her body.
I told you, and it's lecherous, gross. Oh, it is gross.
But like, yes, totally get it, and like I get the like disgusting, guy being like, hey, yeah, just rub your sweat around on you. Like, creepy guy wants this done in his movie, or the producer or whomever. But like from a logistical standpoint, why would anyone do that? It'd be so gross.
I don't know. I mean, I've never been in a sauna, so I don't really know the.
But you've like been very sweaty before, and like, you know, trying to wipe sweat off your face or something with your hand is not like a pleasant experience.
I mean, I have done that where you're like, oh, I'm so gross, and you're like, oh, that didn't really do anything.
Yeah, and then your hand's also covered in your grimy sweat.
But see, if I'm that sweaty, my hands are probably also sweaty.
Sure. Well, she's all sweaty. She's sweaty between her toes in this scene.
Yes. And we get what I thought was a real quick kill and turns out no, she's just blinded, I guess.
Yeah, I thought she was dead. And I was very confused when she shows up later with 2 eye patches and it's like, I've been blinded by the sauna. And I was like, wait a minute. This should not have... What this should have been was she was swimming in the pool and she got like chlorine kicked into her eyes.
So it was chlorine vapor is what they say.
Yeah.
Which blinded her. But also, if it's chlorine vapor, you're breathing chlorine.
Right.
Which I'm assuming just like dead. Isn't good for you. I'm assuming that doesn't go in your lungs.
Right, and also, I'm pretty sure you don't chlorinate saunas.
Well, I think that's why I thought it was like a technology ghost situation where it was like the pump room and it like pulled the chlorine from that pump into this pump.
Right.
There is trying to think of the best adjective. There is a watchable version of this concept. If someone spent...
It's called Final Destination.
Maybe a day and a half on the script.
I mean, it's called Final Destination.
No, I don't even... Well, to me, that's completely different. Like, that's death getting people back.
Like, taking that plot element out of it, this is just the same idea of, like, let's make some Rube Goldberg contraptions to kill people.
I mean, I do see the similarities, but I think there's more... I don't know. I see differences that I can't quite verbalize at this moment. Because this if this movie was simply, this guy cheated on his wife... She killed herself. Now she's a ghost haunting the spa I think they owned together, or he owns.
Yeah, they owned it together.
She is now haunting it and using it to kill people to, like, make him lose his business and his money.
I mean, that's the plot.
Except there's also the fact that some of the things were done by actual people who he knows, like his current partner and his lawyer. Some of the things were done by the gay computer guy. Sometimes it's a ghost, sometimes it's not. Like, so I want the movie to just be, it's a ghost doing things. That's it. Maybe she possesses someone, but like, you can't do all 4 fucking things in your stupid movie and think it's finished.
So, see, I guess I differ in that, like, I think what you described as what you want to be is the plot of the movie, and those other things are just wrinkles. So, like, it is about this ghost possessing it, because, like, the partner who tries to sabotage it just helps the ghost, but ultimately the ghost is the one who's behind all the stuff.
No, because they seemed to know that there were things wrong. Like, oh, this, like, I think the ghost was only responsible for, like, 75% of what happened, and 25% was the people, and they were just like, the other stuff we're just happy with. Like, when he confronts them, they make it sound like, well, we did these things.
Right, but what I'm saying is everything they do, the ghost does a yes and to it. So, like, the guy does the thing where he leaves his watch behind. The ghost makes that more powerful than what he does.
Well, then I don't understand what they were trying to accomplish. Like,
Well,
no, I mean, like, specifically in the instant, like, then show me, oh, we're gonna do this so that the sauna gets too hot and she runs out and, like, upset. And
See,
then
I thought that was the ghost.
Well, no, because the woman says that door didn't have a lock. So, like, that implies that they were again, I'm so effing confused, because if that is the case, then I want to see, okay, the people plan is the sauna gets too hot and she gets overheated and runs away and upset. The ghost turns that into, now there's chlorine vapors and she's blind. Like, show me what it's supposed to be and what the ghost does to it.
I mean, I don't have a cohesive argument for you. I think you're making a sound point.
Thank you.
So we get another workout montage after she goes to the hospital, and it's like very much people doing nonsense. My favorite is the one, and this is in like every
the trunk twist.
No, I get a trunk twist. Like I get like just kind of loosen up your core and stuff. Like I get why you might do that. It feels good, just to stretch those muscles out. But the one where the two people sit and they put their soles of their feet together and then they hold hands and then like one of them pulls the other one and leans backward and then they switch. It just seems like utterly useless as a stretch all over.
No, not necessarily. I think it's sort of it's the equivalent of some like you're in a V sit and stretching and someone's behind you pushing.
Right, but that's not what they're doing. They're seesawing. So it's like back, forth,
Oh,
back, forth,
I didn't
very
catch
quickly.
that.
It's not like what you described would make a lot of sense. Like if one person just like, all right, I'm going to slowly lean back and help you stretch your hamstrings and whatnot, and then you switched. They're just like left, right, left.
They're basically sawing a log.
Yeah, or I was going to say operating one of those train things.
Oh, yeah.
The hobo train car.
We're getting some great 80s workout gear.
Yep.
And I'm
extremely high cut everything.
I'm currently 3 episodes deep into American Horror Story 1984, and it is a mess already. And it starts with a lot of like aerobic stuff, 80s workout gear. The title sequence is a bop. If you YouTube it, listeners, because it's really fun, and what they've put together for the title sequence is really enjoyable. It's a lot of that 80s workout gear and horror stuff.
Is it meta or is it just that it's like a Jason movie?
It's currently just a poorly done Jason movie because at the end of the second episode, I'm like, whoa, great, we're 2 hours into this, and basically we're at the 30-45 minute mark of a regular Jason movie. Cool. Thank you. But people are convinced that it's going to do a quick turn and be meta, and I just, at this point, would be angry because it doesn't make fucking sense.
Great.
It is a great pilot, though, like always.
So this guy, Freddy, he's lifting on the bench, and he lifts way too much to impress
a lady.
Okay, I couldn't figure out if I wrote a lady or a name. It looks like I went back and tried to put a name there and didn't finish it. This has been Trip Can't Read His Own Handwriting.
The names are incidental in this movie.
Yeah, I mean they are, but the problem is it's tough to keep the story straight as you do this podcast without some sort of. But he lifts way too much to impress a lady, which is it's a classic gag. And then there's we cut to the control room, and this beefcake is riding this exercise bike, and they increase the resistance on the bike, which seems like a thing that shouldn't be able to be controlled from a central unit.
Unless it is a Peloton class, then that shouldn't be a thing.
Right. But also, even in those classes, I've never taken a spin class because, look at me. But the ones that I've seen or, been near, it's all right, turn it up to 11. And they tell you to adjust your dial. It's not like the instructor is all right, click. And now we're at a level that may or may not be comfortable for you.
Oh, see, I remember seeing a commercial for a machine, and I thought the guy in the instructor in the commercial was and we're going to take, I get it. He said, we're going to take it up to 11. So my brain was the machine adjusts automatically.
Yeah, I think it's you're supposed to follow the instructor's instructions, but if you're not in a good enough shape to do so, you should adjust it to where
modified.
It's yeah, exactly. I mean, again, I'm not the one to ask this, but so the cops show up and they're investigating the quote dissolved girl, which then made me even more confused because I was okay, she dissolved in there? The sauna got so hot it just melted her? One, this place would never smell good again.
No.
And two, how did she come back later and is only blind if the cops said she was dissolved? No part of her was dissolved.
No, not at all. Because also, it's temporary blindness. So even, it's not like her eyes got dissolved.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing was dissolved at all.
The policewoman is an actress from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which I don't have a strong connection to, so I don't really know much about her.
Well, I guess it's not his sister. Well, it's Carlton's sister.
And I think she had another big thing that I can't remember off the top of my head.
Wait, no, it's not the cop.
Isn't it? I thought it was the lady cop.
No, the lady cop is Rosalind Cash, who actually, we were just talking about the Omega Man with Charlton Heston not too long ago. She's the woman who gets fully naked in that movie, actually.
Oh.
She's the female lead, but the nudity I was referencing in the previous. No, Karen Parsons is from Fresh Prince. She was Hillary. She's a character named Brooke, who's a pretty small part in the movie.
Oh,
she's one of the clients.
Oh, okay. Was she one of the this one?
Maybe I'm having a hard time keeping.
There's only a handful of people of color in this movie.
Right. So we go to the pool, and there's like a underwater swimming thing, which I was surprised by just because that's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I mean, maybe they just put the camera in a plastic tub and like pushed it a little bit.
It's entirely possible they just like wrapped it in a bag. And then this woman is ascending the diving board, and we can see like this screw invisibly turning underneath, which is always a gag that I enjoy.
And this is where I went, wait, why? What? I thought it was a technology-based ghost.
And so this woman jumps like 42 times on the diving board. It is entirely like that little kid who's a little bit afraid at the public pool and is like psyching themselves up to do it. And it's just like bounce, bounce, bounce. Like I've never seen someone doing a dive do more than a double. Where
Yeah,
it's like
you do too.
Tap, end of the thing, and go.
Maybe a third, I guess. Although I think like professional diving boards don't have a bounce at all. They're just...
Well, some do and some don't. There's the platforms and there's boards.
Oh, I didn't realize there was a difference.
Yeah. But it's like you see the bolt unscrewing invisibly, and then so she does her 47th bounce and then like falls into the water. And I mean, credit to the movie, she's extremely safe. Like she falls in the water and then the board comes in after her. And I was just like, I mean, this doesn't seem all that dangerous. And then when she pops out of the water, she's like, the board hit me, or the board almost hit me. And I was like, oh, I guess that would be the part that got dangerous. Because like, it just seemed like she fell and then the board also fell adjacent to her in the water. Not like she fell and the board.
I mean, in real life, yes, that is what happened. What the movie is trying to tell us is that she narrowly avoided death. Because this has all the bad movie staples, like incredibly dumb characters, like beyond like how do you get dressed in the morning dumb characters, and they're all allowing things to happen to them. Like it feels very much like you said, she jumps 47 effing times on a diving board.
Yeah.
And then there's a guy who like later there's a woman who like wanders into a dark basement, and when the sprinklers go off doesn't run out of the room, she like runs in circle. It's a lot of like, what is like, it's too dumb. Yeah. And like, it just seems very willful. Like they just like, well, I guess I'll die.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're wrong. It is, but again, like that's why I think this movie is basically Final Destination.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think at least with Final Destination, there's like an element of like, oh, they try and do X, but then death has, contingency plan B, and then like they try and get over that, and then like the guy with the magnets in the microwave on the fire escape and the noodles.
I don't remember that one. What one's that in?
I think it's the second.
It must be in like part 4.
No, it's like part 2. It's like second one, I think. He's like microwaving noodles, and a magnet falls into the noodles before he microwaves them, but he doesn't see it.
Yeah.
And then it catches fire, and he's like, whoa, and he throws the noodles out the window. But then like something else has caught fire in the meantime. He tries to put it out, and he's like running, like trying to avoid like being burned up, trying to put out his, the fire, and it's consuming his whole apartment. And you think he's going to like fall on this knife, and then he doesn't. And then he jumps out the window and he's like, oh, I'm safe. And then he slips on the noodles and he lands on the fire escape, and the ladder comes sliding down. It comes within an inch of his eye, and he's like, and I think he like hits the thing, and then it hits him in the face.
I remember that. I remember the ladder gag. As soon as you got there, I was like, yep, I have seen this. I'm due for a Final Destination rewatch, I think. It's been a long time.
I wish I could.
You don't like it?
Remember we had this whole anxiety discussion?
Oh.
That like
I think they're all on Hulu right now.
And the problem is that like I kind of there was an enjoyment to this like silly, it was whimsical, fantastical Rube Goldberg machines.
Yeah.
But like sometimes I'm just like my anxiety clicks too much, and then I can't enjoy the movie because I'm just like, these people are dying.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe that's why you're so like pushing, because I think Death Spa is extremely, extremely Final Destination-y, and it's interesting that you're pushing back on that.
I think it's close, but not enough of like a very clear, consistent presence that wants to do something.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is like what I'm saying is Final Destination is about people getting killed in funny, weird ways, and also Death Spa is a movie about people getting killed in funny, weird ways. Like,
If you're gonna boil it down like that, then yes.
I mean, I think it's pretty safe to boil both of those movies down to that. But anyway,
also this movie is only 4 years before Jurassic Park, and the two computer rooms are wildly different looking.
Yes, there's like a reel-to-reel tape machine in there, and like some big lights and stuff.
Again, this is like the third time I've referenced this on the podcast in like the past 2 months, but it looks like the computer from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, it really does have a very Willy Wonka vibe. So the cops are investigating this diving board. Ken Foree is also on the case investigating what's going on at the club.
He needed a bigger part.
Yeah, he is really wasted in this movie, especially given how bad all the other actors are. Like, make Ken Foree the lead cop or something. Like, give him a juicier part. This woman comes to visit the owner of the club, and she has these really creepy, like, I think she calls them Tweedledee and Tweedledum, but they're not like any Tweedledee and Tweedledum I've ever seen.
They're just like jester costumes.
Yeah, they're matching, or maybe they're not matching. Maybe they're alternating jester costumes, like black and white jester costumes.
Mm-hmm.
And
she's the partner.
Yes. And then we go from that to like he's having these weird dreams of a wheelchair on fire. And at this point, we don't know about the wife killing herself.
A foggy, flaming wheelchair at dawn.
Yeah, and it's like in the middle of a field too. Like it's very much.
All we've heard so far is a passing line of my wife. I think he said my wife. Either my wife is no longer with us or my wife committed suicide. We know the wife is dead.
Yeah,
but I don't think we know specifics.
But there's like a real Wicker Man energy to these scenes. It's
there
like
is.
Very strange. Yeah, given the rest of the movie. And that's probably why my brain was like, oh, it's about witches. Because like there's extremely, extremely potent witch energy in those segments. Yeah.
Big Wicker Man energy.
Oh. I thought it was witch, and I was like, well, what's the M?
It's like, well, also, so there's kind of a throwaway line where one woman says like, oh yeah, his wife was really mean to me. So I'm like, was his wife just like a bitch? Did he cheat on her? Like, I want to know what happened there.
Right.
And the movie literally only shows us she covers herself in gasoline in a wheelchair and lights herself on fire.
And then there's one throwaway line later where she's like, I know that you think that we were cheating, but I would never do that. I cared for your sister too much. And it's like, well, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What is the actual thing that happened here?
Yeah. This movie needed John Carpenter, a 6-pack, and one night in a motel room.
Yeah, I mean, it needed anything, really. Also, like I said, I'm convinced that this was, like, cut to ribbons in editing.
I mean, I guess.
Like, there's probably a whole subplot and explanation stuff that just got snipped out of this movie.
Because it's an 87-minute movie that's more like 80.
Right. There's, like, 2 really padded sequences to get that up to 87.
And I'm like, you know what else you can pad your movie with? A few lines of dialogue.
Yep, some plot, anything to explain what's happening.
Give me I'll take a title card. If it was literally 5 minutes of just a title card with like, here's some information you need to know.
A slow Star Wars scroll.
I would honestly take just static text for 5 minutes at this point. This guy in a mesh workout tank, this gets hit on by a lady and he says, I'm Beta and you're VHS. And that line did not age well for many reasons.
No. That line was wrong when this movie came out because by 1987, VHS was the major format and Beta was like barely existing.
Do you think this was a trick-or-treat situation?
What do you mean?
Like it got made in 85 and not released till 89?
I mean, maybe, but 2 years, I can't imagine. I guess that would explain the cutting to theory that I have. But yeah, like I was like, wait a minute, 89? Like this format war had been decided by then. So I'm like I'm like reading through like articles about the history of VHS and Beta and stuff like that.
Well, when did Back to the Future come out? What year was that?
It was originally released in 85.
Okay.
In theaters in 85. I don't know when it first hit home video.
I just know that I got you a Betamax.
Movies were still released on Beta and stuff like that, but by 1989, like the war had been decided because porn had chosen VHS.
It was like the HD DVD versus Blu-ray.
Right, except the consequences were was decided by the porn industry.
Yeah,
but there were still companies making both of them into the 90s, but it just seems like beta was the superior format. So like nerdy AV people were like, oh, this should be the winner. But like, that's like, if a nerd had said this line, it would have been on brand.
Oh, the schlubby guy. Like if the schlubby guy in the gym.
Yeah. If he'd been like, I'm beta and you're VHS, where it's like, I am a nerd that knows the superior data formatting specs of the beta makes it the superior thing, even though it's not the popular thing. Like, that's a believable line in your movie. But when the jock says it, it's just deeply confusing.
Yeah. They show a woman that I thought was Winona Ryder for a second, and I was like, we got Winona?
Yeah. Are you talking about the juice bar?
Yeah. In profile, she looks so much like Winona Ryder.
Yeah, definitely. She does.
And they showed Head On, and I was like, womp womp.
She also... she plays literally the most dangerous joke you could possibly play.
Yes. And it comes back... I mean, it's Chekhov's blender.
Right. She's making somebody a smoothie, and then she like reaches in. There's no top on the blender while it's running, and then she reaches her hand into it while it's running, and then like screams and like pulls back with like a ketchup packet, and there's just like, you know, air quotes, blood spurting everywhere. And the person she does it to is like, what the hell? And she's like, ah, ha, ha, it's so funny. But like, you stuck your hand into a whirring blender. Like, what are you thinking?
Also, the fake blood, the like goop that comes out with the whatever ketchup comes out, looks the same as all the other blood we see in this movie. So how are we supposed to know it's a joke?
Exactly. So my girlfriend has one of those ninja blenders. Do you know what they are? It's like
they got
like,
the top with the thing, right?
Yeah. So the blades are in the. You screw it's like a pint glass kind of thing. You screw this top on that has the blades attached, and then you flip it over and you put it into the base, and it makes.
Wait, like a sort
of like a magic bullet. Sort of thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
I couldn't remember that until you started talking about it. So I was putting it away the other day, and I hadn't quite screwed the two pieces together correctly. So when I dropped it into the base, I was left holding the cup part in my hand, and the blades were in the thing.
My friend has the same thing, and that's always happens to me.
Okay, so I literally was like, oh, I gotta grab that. And I was like reaching toward the blades, and then my brain was like, hey, you've literally watched this happen over and over and over again. Unplug it. And then I unplugged it and pulled it out. But it was just like, literally my first instinct was like, oh, I gotta get those. And like, I'm assuming it has a safety device in which like you need the
it has to be twisted.
But it could have twisted at me touching it. But also the cup has like a sticky outy part.
That's what I mean. The sticky outy has to twist, and if there's no sticky outy, it won't run.
Yeah, but I was like, I'm gonna unplug this anyway because
I did too.
Like this hand. But yeah, it was like, oh, this is like this movie.
So then our lead, Michael, is it Michael?
It's Michael.
Goes to his office, and there's a dead bird in his office.
It's more like a fetus.
It's like a balut. Is that what that food is?
Yes, yeah.
And he immediately assumes
That's a type of bird, right?
Yeah, it's the egg, the bird and the egg in the Philippines.
Yeah. Yes, where the people eat. It's like an embryo
Vietnamese?
in the shell. I don't know what country they eat it in, and I don't want to guess for fear of sounding racist.
Yeah. And so he like immediately assumes his gay ex-brother-in-law did it. And I was like, why would he? Like, why a bird?
Yeah.
Why would this be the thing?
And then we learn later that there is a symbolism to the bird, but it's like the audience doesn't know that yet. You haven't told it to us.
Yeah. The next scene was cast from a porn studio.
It has been 27 minutes since we saw breasts, so you know what that means. It's nipple o'clock.
But it's like the used car salesman commercial of boobs. We got all kinds of boobs. Any boob you want. No credit, no problem. We got a boob for you.
Big ones, small ones, in between.
Yeah, it's just a shower. It's like the beginning of Carrie, but gross. Because, like I said, they were cast from a porn studio.
Oh, 100% these are adult actresses.
At least according to IMDb. So whatever that means.
When I say adult, I mean porn.
Capital
Just
A adult.
to be clear. They are also adults, but they are also porn.
And so, once again, the showers start spraying something that I guess we assume is chlorine, but who's to say, really?
It could really just be steam in this particular scene, but then the tiles all start shooting off the wall.
And you can see the air cannons behind each tile.
Oh, yeah. There's like a little, barrel of a gun, basically.
Yeah. And so again, I'm just confused as to how this ghost works.
So the guy goes over to console these women who were just attacked by the shower, and he like puts his hand on the one shoulder and is like, "Hey, I want you to know that I'm going to extend your membership for 2 months for free." And they're both like, "Okay." And I would have been like,
no, they're not okay. They're
sir.
okay. Their response is, "Want to have a threesome tomorrow?"
But like, I think my response would be, "No, sir. What is going to happen is you are going to give me back all of the money that I have remaining on my contract, and we're going to cancel it out. And I'm
Actually,
not going to
you're just going to give back all the money I've ever given you.
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're going to do.
Well, yeah, I was assuming they'd been members for a while, but if it was anything less than a year, like, yep, I would like my refund, please and thank you.
Yeah. Or I will dispute the charge on my credit card, like I did with Movie-Pass.
So we go to the chest machine, and this is directly ripped from Final Destination.
Well, vice versa.
3. Yes, sorry. Final Destination directly rips this off.
Is the third one the one with the tanning beds? That's the roller coaster, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
The roller coaster has the tanning beds. So he's doing the chest, machine where you like put your forearms up behind these pads and squeeze them together in front of your chest. My football coach used to just, whenever anybody would use that machine, would be like, we must increase our bust.
That's from something, isn't it?
Stuck in my head. It must be. But this guy's doing it, and like the things keep ratcheting up. It reminds me of the scene in the Nightmare on Elm Street one that we did that had the weight.
It's very similar.
The bench press thing.
So the appeal of this gym, we didn't mention it really, is that the whole thing is computerized tip to tail, and you have a card that like remembers your identity. It's basically magic bands at Disney World.
It's actually, I think, a cool piece of technology. I'm surprised no one has tried to figure it out at a gym, but you basically have a profile. So when you go to a machine, you just tap it, and the machine is like, oh, this is Trip, and this is how much weight he wants on this.
Yeah, and it also like how you access your lockers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So as he's doing it, the machine talks to him and is like, wait, it's like the carousel of progress where it's like temperature increased to 100 degrees or whatever.
Yes.
And so it keeps increasing the weight until it like suspend your disbelief because somehow this weight machine pushes his arms back so far that his ribs butterfly.
Yeah, it's really stupid. Like, if either he should be popped open like the turkey in Christmas Vacation.
Oh, I wish.
Or his arm should come off.
This movie doesn't have... If this movie had enough budget for really gross effects, I would have been way more entertained and like would have been able to write off a lot of this nonsense. But as this is happening, he could have just like moved his arm. Like, your arms are at a 90-degree angle at your sides when you do this, facing up. What you could do is straighten your arm to a 180-degree angle.
Or just drop your elbows to your waist.
And then drop, like, there's options here.
Right.
But instead, it's pushing so far that we see one single ketchup packet's worth of blood squirt out on his left rib cage, and then he just slumps over dead.
Right. I needed more than that. I needed like a lot. I needed at least a lot of blood, which is very cheap to produce. Just get some corn syrup. Yeah. We go from this to it's dinner, and it's Michael and the blind woman, and this is supposed to be a sexy scene.
If your script involves he sexily draws an asparagus across her lips, hit the backspace button for 1 hour.
It literally was only the soundtrack away from being a Naked Gun thing.
Yeah, it was like didn't we talk about the feather scene in that movie? The 40 Days, 40 Nights?
Oh, 40 Days, 40 Nights, yes. Where Josh Hartnett and I can't remember the actress's name. He like gets her off with the single feather.
Mm-hmm. Or rose, or a flower, or something.
Rose petal. But anyway, he picks up this asparagus and it like dangles limply. Like it's this sad dangly asparagus. And he just like rubs it on her bottom lip and she's like cooing at him. And then he's like, here, take a bite, and kind of like pushes it into her mouth. And I was like, I get what you're doing, movie, but you're using all the imagery incorrectly.
Yeah, this is not the way to do this. So we cut back to the gym, and the pacing of this movie is terrible across the board. The last 20 minutes are paced horribly, but like the whole movie's paced pretty badly. So we cut back to the gym, and I think this is the woman from Fresh Prince, I would think.
Yeah, I think so.
She thinks someone is in the locker room with her, and then all the lockers start like vibrating and like shaking. And so she wanders around until all of a sudden a harpoon shoots out of a locker and into her neck?
No, it's a harpoon. It's a full-on harpoon.
What this scene needed was 5 minutes earlier to show someone swipes their card, the locker opens, and the curtain rod shoots out with their clothes on it.
Yeah.
To show like, oh, this is how this works. This is a thing in this gym.
Yep. And that would have been so easy to rig up practically, too.
Mm-hmm. Where are my Kyoto brothers?
Right?
They would have killed if they had this movie.
They also ripped this kill off directly from Kevin Bacon in Friday the 13th.
Yes.
Like arrow through the neck. It's definitely the same kill.
So then he brings the blind woman to the gym.
This is the weirdest sequence of the movie, I think. And they're all pretty weird, but this one in particular.
It's utter nonsense. He brings the blind woman to the gym in the locker room, and he's like, stay here. I have to go access the computer terminal so you can get access to your locker. If you have access to the terminal, just open her locker and bring her stuff home.
Right.
It's very easy.
Easy peasy. She's blind. She can't see it anyway.
Yes. So he did you have to ask the computer please when you typed in programs? Do you know?
No.
No, you don't know, or no, you did not?
No, you did not have to say please and thank you.
Because he would say, like, please run this program. And I was like...
But that's because his wife is in the computer already.
But he doesn't know that.
Yeah, I guess.
So then, of course, Neck Spear is in the blind woman's locker, and something's happened to her eye.
Right.
And I don't know what.
Yeah, it doesn't really explain it. And then they somehow open the locker and she can't sense the dead woman in it, even though that like there's a freshly opened wound on this body.
Yeah. And then he sees a woman walking down a hallway in like a black dress and a blonde wig. And he runs to see her, and it's just a person from the gym in their Mardi Gras costume.
Yeah. And she's like trying to scare them as a goof. It's very silly.
Don't get it. Also, Michael can get it. He is hot.
Are you saying that because of the subsequent scene where he's sitting in a rocking chair in a Speedo?
Speedo, chest hair all out. He's like, he's Magnum. P.I.
Tom Selleck.
Thank you. He's like full bear. And this is where we see his ex-wife cover herself in gasoline and light herself on fire. And I was like, oh, we're going to keep slowly showing more and more of this till we realize Michael did it, or like Michael's responsible, or literally any information about her suicide.
Just something to explain what's happening in this movie. But instead what we get is he goes to talk to his blind girlfriend and she's like, what's wrong? And he's like, oh, it's another bad dream. I think I'm having a nervous breakdown. Well, good night. And just like rolls over and goes to sleep.
It's very much the
poorly written dialogue.
And then he sees he's like, I'm going to consult a paranormal investigator. And I was like, if this movie turned into Ghostbusters right now, my kingdom for a Venkman.
So he goes to this guy and he's doing this like whole spiel about this thing and where it came from and whose object it was and blah, 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 blah.
Psychometry.
Blah, blah. Right. And then he looks over the dead wife's brooch and he starts doing the same thing. Like, oh, he lost a baby in labor and then she set herself on fire. And I really like that Michael is skeptical. He's like, yeah, all that was public knowledge and you had my name. Like you could have easily just done research at the library.
But like, if he's skeptic, then why did he go to a psychic?
I think he's like willing to try anything, and he's like, if that's the best you got, I'm leaving.
Well, then but like, it's not like the movie established Michael was a skeptic or that this was like a last ditch effort. It's just like he thinks it's a ghost. He goes to a parapsychologist, and then he's like, I don't believe you. And I'm like, then why are you here?
Oh, I really dug this. I thought this was the character illustration of like he doesn't quite believe his thing, and you got to prove it to me. Do better than that.
I guess. And then after this, because they like conspire that the paranormal investigator is going to show up to the gym and like pretend to be an insurance adjuster. And then we get this really out of left field scene where we just see it. It looks like the opening of a movie where you just show things to set up the idea of what your movie is going to be about.
Hold that for 1 second, because he does do that long bird's nest analogy that explains like why there was a bird earlier. So I just wanted to, like, the movie does eventually try to explain the bird thing.
Yeah. So we get these like weird overhead shots of a bed and like makeup and stuff, and we hear someone talking to someone they refer to as Catherine, who's the dead wife, and it sounds like they're stooping.
Yeah.
And I'm just like so confused.
Ghost boning happening right now.
Who was it in Ghostbusters that was adamant that the ghost boning? Dan Aykroyd?
Wait, I don't know what you're going to say.
Who was adamant that the ghost boning had to stay in the movie because it was factually accurate?
Oh, I've never heard that part. All I know is it's a deleted scene where they like are fighting ghosts at a like weird historic site, which is why Dan Aykroyd is dressed that way in that montage scene.
Yeah, well, apparently, I think it was Dan Aykroyd, or maybe it was.
He's a ghost. He's a lunatic about ghosts, so it would be the logical person for him.
Or maybe Bill. I don't remember, but it was some.
No, it would. If it's a thing about like ghost lore and the truth, it's Dan Aykroyd.
Then yeah, because he was like, I think he claimed he said that his friend claimed to be like blown by a ghost or something, IRL, and so that's why he needed it in the movie.
Yeah, he's into all that weird stuff. That's why Crystal Skull vodka is in a crystal skull, because he believes it has mystic powers.
Oh. So after the whole stooping Catherine moment, we go back to the gym, and we really get some time to like visually explore this set. And I have to say that it is the best part of the movie.
Oh, for sure.
This gym, it's all real stuff. It looks cool. The aesthetic is very solid and consistent and makes sense. I was like, oh, I like this. This is fun.
Yeah.
Also,
this scene that leads from it, like with this woman in the basement, is real gnarly and definitely was where most of their budget went.
Yes, for sure. I just thought it was funny that like gyms are still just a place to show off and cruise. It's online now. Because there's people like standing around posing next to machines all sweaty. Yeah. And I'm like, and that's just
them on their Tinder or whatever.
Well, no, I'm saying in the movie that's what they're doing.
No, I know. I was just agreeing with you that like it's the same thing now.
So the two women who wanted to have a threesome with Michael for giving him a discount on their membership. That's the other thing. If Michael's clearly cheating on the blind woman that he's like, you should move in with me, then like he probably cheated on his wife.
Well, is he clearly cheating? Because they offered to have a threesome.
And he said, yeah.
Oh.
He 100% was like, well, I think I can make that work. Like, I mean, I can assume.
Yeah.
And then, so the woman is it's like they're in the bathroom, someone's blow drying their hair. I was like, oh, let me guess. Someone's going to catch fire from a blow dry. Like, what stupid thing is going to happen? And instead, the one woman gets a note from a very obviously hidden note passer.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, what is this new twist in the plot?
Why isn't it written on the mirror with like in the steam, like ghost or something?
It was like, it's Michael, come to the basement, follow this map. And I was like, you're an idiot for following that.
Yeah.
Because then, well, like, I mean, I would, if I had gotten that note and it was her, I'd be like, oh, okay. And then I would open the door to the basement and see it's a gross, like, it's Freddy's boiler room and be like, you know what? Probably not worth it.
Not it definitely is. The sex with this guy is not going to be that good.
No way. But no, she goes down and she's like, you're really freaking me out, Chad. And then the sprinklers, so then a door opens and it's just a spray paint. It's just a spray paint closet. It's like,
yeah.
Have you ever seen the like official like paint lockers like that?
No.
So we have them, a lot of like theater departments and like set places have them. It's just a big yellow locker that says like flammable on it, whatever. And it like, you have to really turn the handle to open the door. And it's like that. It's like this big yellow cabinet that opens and I'm like, there's a ghost inside.
Right.
No, it's just spray paint. Yeah. And then acid rain happens.
From the sprinklers. Like this is where it would be, okay, that's chlorine gas. Like this part I get.
Yeah. And she runs around in circles. And then just falls on the ground and is like, oh, I'm hurt. And I'm like, but you're not. Like,
and then she starts melting.
Yeah, it's
really gnarly.
They have 2 seconds of a really convincing shot. And the rest of the shots of the close up are just like you put Alka-Seltzer tablets on her face and sprayed her with water.
Yeah, yeah. But I still think it's like top 3 deaths in the movie.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So David, the brother of the deceased ex-wife, who is the programmer of the computers, he visits the house with the blind lady, and he is Hall of Fame creepy while he's there.
It's Michael's house, and it is a primo 80s nonsense house. Like, the Dietzes from Beetlejuice would love this house.
Yeah.
It's got a shiny chrome door, weird, stupid angles.
None of the furniture has armrests. It's just like the least comfortable place to be. But he corners this woman while holding a screwdriver, and you think he's about to stab her, and then the doorbell rings, and she's like, oh, that must be someone with the groceries. So he goes down, like, gets the groceries and sends this woman away.
Yeah, they play a lot of like, oh, he's definitely going to kill her.
And there's this really awesome two-shot here where he's like just shut the door and he's in the foreground looking like really menacing, and then she's in the background over his shoulder like blind and lost and confused and looks really scared. And it's this like really cool, awesomely composed shot for this movie that does not have a lot of that.
Exactly. But also, he claims he was there to fix the computer and Michael knows about it. And you're like, oh, so he's just here to murder her. Then he doesn't murder her, but he was doing something on the computer and brought over tools. And Michael didn't know he was coming, but we have no idea what he actually did.
Right. And it's like, was his motive actually to fiddle with the computer or to kill her? Like, I don't understand.
I was like, so are we going to get a moment where the computer's going to like do something? Like, why was this here? If just to be an obvious red herring? Or I guess not red herring?
No, I think you're right. It's just like to throw you off the scent.
But it's like half not. That's the thing. As we learn in like 5 minutes, that's not really off the scent.
Right. So Michael comes home and we think Laura is dead, but nope, she's just taking a nap on the couch, which is
a face down nap. You know.
Yeah, like you do on a leather couch.
A face down nap with no pillow.
With your mouth and nose directly against a leather couch.
And this is where I thought, so the reason Michael wasn't home is because I thought he was boning that girl at the gym.
Right.
But I don't know. The movie didn't tell me. So someone upstairs at the gym takes AC control away from the computer system for some reason, somehow.
Well, this is the lawyer sabotaging, and then he goes down to like the electrical panel and is trying to like break the AC so the gym gets really hot.
Oh, is that what that was supposed to be?
Right. This is Michael's lawyer. This is what I was saying to you before is like, I think Michael's lawyer like futzes with the AC, and then the ghost is like, all right, you don't want AC? I'm going to make it literally an oven in here. And,
but that never happened.
People. Yeah, I was confusing the timeline of that and the acid rain bath.
Yeah. Because after the guy takes away the AC power, whatever, the paranormal investigator goes down to the basement, sees a terrible looking dummy.
He's also using actual Ghostbusters gear for this scene.
Oh, I love the gear he was using.
But then he goes down and he sees that woman, and you're right, it is a bad dummy, but they're giving her dialogue like she's still alive even though she's basically melted, and it is real fucked up.
Well, also, she's been melted for hours.
Right.
So there's no way.
But she's, like, in the context of the movie, she's just been lying in tortured agony for hours, like, barely alive.
Yeah. And so he runs away, and then
the ghost beats him up.
That's what I mean. He tries to run away, and all of a sudden we see Catherine, and she has super strength, and I'm just lost.
Yeah.
I'm just completely lost.
And then he pulls a gun, and he shoots the gun, and instead of it, like, firing a bullet, the gun explodes and blows his hand off.
Yeah. So, again, what are we doing here? What are the rules? This is just a free-for-all.
I mean, this is ghosty
This is
stuff.
Mad Libs.
This is ghosty stuff.
But, like, establish what ghosty stuff is.
Anything that seems weird.
Remember how we loved Beetlejuice that it made rules and played by those rules? Like, we want things to have a clear-cut rule and follow those rules. Do whatever you want within those rules. And she kills him.
Yeah.
Real quick. Michael has a suicide dream.
Yeah, his wife like beckons to him on the balcony, and when he goes to her, he falls over it himself.
And then he wakes up and is like, aha, this must mean the lawyer and my partner are in cahoots to sabotage the gym. And so he goes over in just a jacket and jeans with no shirt.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like,
it's a very weird choice for a movie.
Like, haha, I've caught you both. And the partner's like, well, we've done the thing. And the lawyer's like, I don't know what she's talking about. And so so Michael leaves. And then the partner is like, you're an asshole, lawyer. I'm leaving. And I was like, why are we doing this?
Also, weren't you part of it? You were there when he was sabotaging that electric box.
I think it's because he tried to, like, say he didn't know what she was talking about. Like,
yeah, I guess.
But again, like, what's the point of adding this? It doesn't add anything to the movie except runtime.
Yeah, no, you're right. And then we cut to David, who's having a conversation with his ghost sister. And
Well,
he's like,
they like tease it.
right.
It's like
they're doing like a Norman Bates thing. That's what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and like I read online that the How Did This Get Made podcast referred to a transgender technology villain.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't call this transgender because there's no anything of like that this is a thing for David. Like it's completely unclear as to what David's role in this is.
David seems like a host for a ghost of a different gender, and that ghost dresses the way that it wants to dress.
But it's not. But when we see Catherine, it's not David in a wig.
But at one point it is.
It's always.
Yes, I'm sorry. Literally in the movie it is not, but it is supposed to be.
That is wildly unclear.
There's a wig in the scene behind him, though, isn't there?
Because then later there's a point where the Catherine is cackling at the computer, and then Michael looks away and looks back, and it's David. Not David with the wig, just David.
No. All that is true. I thought in this scene here where he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. Too many people are getting hurt, that there was a wig on the table.
There might have been.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't remember. But like, if the twist on the ghost thing is that like she died, but because she had a twin brother, that means that she has a vessel she can use because they're twins or whatever. That's an interesting angle. Explore that.
I agree with that. Yeah, I agree with that.
But like instead it's this weird like what is happening, because he's not possessed, but he's possessed by her sometimes. Sometimes he shows up, sometimes it's Catherine. And I'm just very, very, very confused.
It's also weird to me that he doesn't just like kill himself.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that's the answer here is you're like, yeah, all right, well, I've committed a bunch of murders that are going to get tied to me. I didn't have anything to do with them, but no one is ever going to believe that a ghost possessed me. So I might as well jump off a bridge.
But that's the thing. Like, so far, all the destruction we've seen hasn't been by, it's all been ghosty.
Right.
Like, there's not been like a person at a computer. It's just been ghosty stuff. And that's what, I think that's what's the most frustrating thing is that like, what are we trying to accomplish? Like, what do you as a filmmaker want me to take away from this movie?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. The movie is kind of a mess.
It's just frustrating. And like, clearly this was there for shock value of like, David's in a dress.
Yeah. No, I mean, but it's also just doing Psycho.
Yeah.
So the cops show up and the whole house is like covered in sheets, like all the furniture.
It feels like they've edited these scenes backwards.
Yes.
Because they're like, well, this is David's home and it's all covered in like sheets, like clearly it's not lived in, and they're like, there's women's clothes here, what's happening? And I'm like, you just told me.
Right. We know, and I guess that's just to establish that like the characters know now as opposed to the audience knowing, but it's a very odd choice.
And the cop calls in, he describes David and then goes, probably a psycho, and he might be in drag.
Yeah. Well, that's shortly after he finds a burnt wheelchair and a pair of women's underwear on it.
Oh, I did notice the underwear. I noticed I saw the wheelchair, but I didn't notice the underwear. There's also a real great, definitely not a man in a burn suit in a nightgown on fire moment.
Yeah.
It's like when Freddy put on 50 pounds in the first Nightmare.
Like the stunt is performed by Andre the Giant, and the actress is Winona Ryder.
Yeah. It looks like a fun party. Like, it's all decorated. The costumes are really fun.
You were going to say that.
Because I like when, like, it's not a theme party specifically, but it, like, is, like, a fun, wild 80s party.
Yeah, I thought it looked like a pretty mediocre spread. And also, I don't think I'd want to eat sushi in my gym.
Oh, I would absolutely not want to eat sushi. I'm talking about, like, the decor and, like, the fact that everyone's in a nice costume.
Yeah. So they have like live sushi chefs cutting and preparing sushi at the party. And we cut to the control room, and Catherine is in there, and she seduces this pirate dude and kills him.
Yeah, and again, I was like, so is Catherine real? Catherine's a what?
She's definitely corporeal at this point.
Yeah.
But the other thing that I think is crazy is like, this is an extremely well-attended party at this gym, which as of late, has been actively trying to kill several of its members.
Yeah, it's like the Cabot Cove gym. The Cabot Cove of gyms.
And everybody's like super chill of like, you know, oh, someone got killed on the diving board. 2 people got murdered in the basement. A bunch of us were in the shower and the tiles tried to kill us.
Well, I don't think anyone knows about the basement yet, but everyone was there for the shower, the diving board,
ribs guy,
the sauna, the ribs guy. Oh my God. Yeah. Like, how is anyone still here?
And everyone's just like, nah, I'm definitely going to show up and drink champagne and eat sushi. That seems like a cool party.
So then we see the lawyer in a skeleton costume taking something in an office. And as someone in the jester costume shows up, he hits that person with a trophy or something. And I'm like, well, you just killed your partner.
Yep, for sure.
And he runs away. Well, at first, I forgot they were sharing a costume, and I was like, he just killed the partner. Oh, he didn't know he killed the partner.
Right. So Lara, is the blind woman, is getting tied up by Catherine, who is a corporeal ghost at this point. And we cut to the cops who have come to the party, and the man cop is like aggressively hitting all these women. And it's like, all right, number one, that woman is 22 and you are 60. Number two, look at yourself and look at her. And number three, you are here working, sir.
You're on the clock, buddy.
Yeah.
And so we get a setup to death by tanning bed. It's the first time we've ever seen a tanning bed in this movie. So now we know that there's, in the last 20, a tanning bed exists in this gym.
Also, did you catch that the pirate guy like suddenly had a dog face for no reason?
I said Eye of the Beholder makeup from the Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. But he had this like real weird face for a second.
Well, because as he goes to kiss Catherine, she like puts her hand on his face and pushes, and you hear like bones crack, and he screams. And I'm like, what just happened?
Yeah.
And apparently what happened is he turned into a pig face.
But yeah, like you said, Lara is tied to a tanning bed. She's getting burnt.
And the lawyer had snuck off with a woman into the sauna.
Yeah.
And it turns out the sauna is completely low tech.
Yeah, there's no computer function.
It's just
to it
hot
at all.
coals and water.
And they're canoodling and then suddenly get stabbed through the face.
What happened to him? Because I literally like was writing a note, heard an explosion, looked up, saw his face, was like, oh, let me back up 10 seconds and see what happened. I don't know.
He gets randomly stabbed through the face and it just like turns into jello.
Yeah.
And then the walls start caving in.
And like rattling and stuff. And then this is where the Catherine ghost at the computer switches to David. And I was like, what's happening?
I think it's supposed to represent like they're fighting for control of this body, but it's not done well.
Yeah. With like I said, with a couple more days of work on a script and a more competent director that like wasn't trying to shoot naked ladies, I feel like this movie would be watchable.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So David runs away. Michael runs away and just like dive bombs his way through the tanning bed door, like just shatters the glass. And upon seeing Lara in the tanning bed, his first thought is, let me ungag you.
Right.
No.
Hey, pal, get her out of there.
Step one, hands. Step two, legs.
Yeah. Or no, step one, drag her body out of the tanning bed.
Well, I think
Then
she's
deal
tied
with
to
that.
it.
Oh, okay.
I think that's what we were supposed to glean. And that's why this is when I wrote, this film is more of an incomplete than it is a failure.
Yeah. So Catherine is like real mad now because he went to save Lara. So she kills one party guest and she threatens to kill all the party guests. And then we cut to like stuff just starts going awry. We see Blender Girl again, and her hand is being like absorbed and eaten by the blender because the cop is like trying to desperately pull it off her arm and it won't come off, and it just keeps like going further and further up her forearm.
They also give him a line of dialogue. It's like, it's unplugged. And I was like, thanks, movie. I'm glad you felt that needed clarification.
There's like literally a bathtub full of blood in this sequence. It's so much blood.
And also, like, they're still at a part, like, I think there's a couple people at the edge of the room, but there's a moment where the camera shows the opposite, like, the other perspective, and you can see people in the shot, and, like, no one does a damn thing. And then the cop gets sucked into the freezer, and no one, again, does anything or says anything.
He gets attacked by pills and seltzer that are in the fridge, which I kind of liked.
And then dead fish.
The fish like talks first, and then is this when it stabs him?
Yeah.
Or bites his jugular. It's this like fish carcass. It's like the head attached to the bone, the spine, and the tail, and it just like slides off this thing straight at his neck and like chews it. It's so ridiculous. It's
so
a real
dumb.
delight.
Then we find out that the partner didn't die from getting bludgeoned with a trophy, and the lady detective picks her up and like takes her somewhere. And then
at this point, the club is just like absolute mayhem. Like we're just cutting between insane death versus insane death.
None of the leads seem to have that energy.
No, but because they're just killing extras.
But my favorite is that, like, so the Catherine is like, I will kill everyone here, and then, like, disappears or whatever. And then, like, you hear awful things, and David just, like, picks up Laura and, like, slowly walks out of the room. Right. And then we cut to, like, fast pace. And then the detective is like, hey, you're bleeding. Let's take you to a bathroom and I'll find my partner. And they slowly walk into a bathroom. I'm like, what?
My favorite is this woman who's standing in front of a mirror.
It is my 100% find this scene and watch only this 30 seconds.
I think everything in the club rules, but this mirror starts like vibrating and basically turns into liquid, and then it explodes, and it's like the very obvious dummy death, but like
it's basically a scarecrow.
Yeah, it gets like destroyed, but it cut to ribbons by this exploding mirror, and it's just amazing.
It's not even it doesn't even look like broken glass was thrown at her face.
No,
it just looks like they were like, let's fill the sleeves and a balloon with Jell-O and put it on a broom pole and then just blast it with air. And because that's what happens. She just like, you hear her scream and then her arms and head just fall off her body and like a gust of air and red water.
It's as if you popped a bag of soup.
Yeah.
So Michael like fries the computer in an attempt to kill Catherine, and meanwhile the whole club is on fire. And so
again, what is this pacing? He's like, I'm gonna fry her. Well, no, first he stumbles Lara to the computer and is like, it's locked. Can you walk? This will be faster. And I was like, again, that's not something that needed clarifying, movie.
Right.
And so they go to the power thing, and he is like, I'm gonna electrocute the computer. And so he does that, and Catherine electrocutes and falls down dead, or whatever. And then we cut to just all this pandemonium, close-ups on dead bodies, all this stuff, and I was like, he just won. Right. Why is this this should have been 5 minutes ago.
Right.
And so then they go into the computer room. The detective is like, enough of this shit. Bang, 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 bang.
Yeah.
And they go in, and Catherine tries to attack Lara, and the detective is like, no, and just shoots her a lot. And they're like...
I will say, we're also going pretty quick here, which is fine, but the fire effects in this sequence, I think, are really great. Like, as Catherine keeps getting angrier and, like, making it burn more, it looks really cool.
I agree. But then, so, like... we now have Lara and Michael and the detective and now Ken Foree are all in this room. And they're like, oh, I'm so glad you're okay, Ken Foree. And he's like, I'm glad you're okay, too. And I'm like, none of you are okay. This building is on fire.
Yes.
No one is okay.
I also, like, they do the thing where, like, the bad guy sits up, like Catherine/David, like, sits up. And Michael tears off the arm of the corpse. And then the cop shoots it some more as he's, like, hitting it with its own arm.
And so, like, they run out and the fire people show up. And so I guess we're supposed to assume everyone got saved.
Yeah.
And then they give, because this movie is so bad, what I find to be the most offensive sequel tease ever on film.
Which is?
When she pops up, she's like, you didn't beat me, Michael, or whatever the hell she says, nonsense.
But then her eyeball explodes.
Whatever.
I don't think it was a sequel setup, because I think it's like the pop-up and then the eyeball goes and it's like, okay,
I don't know, maybe.
I thought that was a hilarious way to end. Final thoughts?
It's not good. It's like not even like fun bad. It's just bad.
I disagree. I felt like this was a good, fun, bad movie, but maybe I just have a higher tolerance for like slow bullshit than you do.
I don't have my thing is that like, as long as it's coherent, I can forgive a lot, but like the movie's not coherent and like there's so much that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I just think like the last sequence is so fun that it makes the other stuff a little more tolerable. And I also think that like they do a decent job of peppering in some death scenes and things that get interesting as it goes along. This is also definitely a movie that would have been on at like 1:00 in the morning on like an HBO or whatever. And I would have totally watched it when I was 12. So that like this definitely is that sort of
AMC 31 Nights of Halloween.
Yes, this would have been cheap filler in that.
I wish they still did that.
I don't have a cable anymore, so it doesn't really affect me. But
I know, but like for me, that was like a big thing. Like I watched so many movies for the first time through that.
Me too.
Didn't you set an alarm to watch?
That's how I watched Halloween 6. I woke up at like 4 a.m.
Is that the one with
Paul Rudd.
Man Who Won't Age? Yes, thank you.
Yes. I'm gonna give this a soft recommend. I think if you can find it, you should check it out. It is harder. It's not streaming anywhere right now, but the last half hour is awesome. So if you can just watch that segment alone, I think your time.
I don't know. It's short, so like blessedly so, but it's just, I don't know. It's too incoherent for me.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. We really appreciate the support. We be back in 2 weeks, but before we tell you what's next, I do want to let you know just a couple quick things. One, it was really effective last time when I was mean about it because we got a new review. So I'm going to do it again and just say, hey, review the dang show. Okay? You can do it. Stop being lazy. Go review the show. Go review the show. If you haven't done it yet, stop being lazy and review the show. Good grief. It's not that hard. We got 2 new reviews from me being Ian. So I'm guessing this is the new strategy. You've all done this to yourself by making this work. The first one is from Mon Picasso. It's 4 stars, and it says, this is a good show, not terrific, not great, but worth your time if you enjoy podcasts about film and cinema. It's in my top 6 for movie podcasts. The hosts are quite amiable, and they generally do their research before turning on their mics. If you're going to discuss movies, take notes and do your homework, so they know what they want to say before they record the show. Kudos to you fellas for that. Though these two have been doing this podcast for some time, they occasionally sound a bit unpolished, but not to the point of being unbearable. In fact, sometimes it's charming. You feel like you're just hanging out. Every once in a while, they get into a deep dive, and it can drag a bit, but that doesn't happen very often, nor does it last long. The hosts are engaging, funny, thoughtful, and generally have good insights into the films they choose. As with all podcasts, I've listened to 6 episodes before writing this review, just to be fair. It's worth my time to listen. Give the show a try. That is incredibly thorough feedback. Thank you for I think first instinct in reading something like that, you're like, hey, but I think that's like insightful criticism. I appreciate this person like taking the time to write something like that. I think I agree, mostly accurate. We do some research. Second review is from Mon. I'm an idiot. That review came in on Monday. The person's name is Picasso. And I was just saying how polished we were. This review also came in on Monday, so a couple weeks ago from when you're hearing it, but it's from Spence881, and it says, my favorite brothers, 5 stars. One of the first movie podcasts I discovered, and also one of my faves. Trip and Andrew are a great duo, taking us on a journey of crazy 80s movies. Even when they cover a movie like horror that I would never watch, I still listen to the episode because I enjoy hearing their discussion and hilarious insight. Military bullets. Thank you so much to both of you for those reviews. We really appreciate them. And since it was effective, I'm going to just double down on being a jerk about it. Hey, you, review the show. Send us a screenshot if it's not on iTunes. Thank you. Find us at dissectingthe80s.com. We have links to all the episodes and all that stuff you'd ever want there. We are also on Facebook. You can find us at Dissecting the 80s. And you can also find us on Twitter at Dissect the 80s. I'm usually pretty quick to respond to there. And lastly, but not leastly, check out the Patreon, patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. There's a bunch of great tiers with a bunch of great stuff. Everything from the $2 level all the way up to the crazy $88 level. If you want to get yourself a vinyl record of the show, that's how you do that. So check that out, patreon.com/dissecting the 80s. We will be back in 2 weeks. The Spooktacular is over, but this show continues with The Wraith, which I believe is celebrating an anniversary.
I don't know anything about The Wraith.
It just seems like a fun bonkers movie. I saw a trailer for it and wanted to squeeze it into the schedule, basically. We also have on the Patreon, when you're hearing this, our episode about the Lost Boys is up. So if you'd like to hear us talking about that 80s cult classic, go to patreon.com/dissecting the 80s and sign up at the $5 tier or higher. So thank you all for listening to the show. I've been Trip Lano.
I will always be Andrew Lano.
Until November 4th.
Don't you forget about me.
Dissecting the 80s is a Chum Some of This production.